The market did not get any harder. It just got more honest. And in 2026, honesty punishes laziness and rewards professionals. On today's podcast, we want to talk about the top 10 things that you need to do in 2026 to be successful. Good morning, Peter. How are you?
Good morning, Sharif. I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Today, I want to talk about things you got to do a little differently now, or you should have been doing in the past in order to be successful today. So, on today's episode, I figure we dive in, Peter, and just talk about what we're doing a little bit differently and things that we're going to be changing, this year to make sure that we stay successful. On the first topic, we touched on it, during the intro. It's that the market's punishing lazy agents again, right? And really, what it comes down to is effort makes a difference and it matters again, right? You got to put that consistent effort, right, Pete?
And as we all know, the real estate agents, they came up with a report. The National Association of Realtors came up with a report last week or two, and he said 71% of agents closed zero deals in 2025, which is crazy, right?
Nuts.
Yeah. And I think, like, if you close more than like 10 homes, I think you're already in the top 4%, which is wild. But that's the market we're in. Real estate in the US, it just got low barrier of entry. So people just get it and they think it's easy. And the ones that got their license during COVID, it was, let's face it, COVID was easy to close homes back then. And they thought this is how real estate should be. And now they're punished with reality after the COVID inflation went away. Now they have to really put in the work and they can't really adjust to it, right?
No, totally. I mean, things are getting a little bit more normal, right? And we were definitely during COVID, it was called the unicorn years, right? Those are just time periods we'll never see again. But really, skill matters again, right? And really, agents need to understand the gold is in the follow up, and you really need to get more consistent on your follow up. So that's one thing that you need to change in 2026 is just make sure that you're being consistent with follow up, and the market's really exposing the weaker agents that don't have that consistent follow up and those good habits put in place. So those are things that you want to tackle first on. The
I agree.
second thing is, Peter, just to touch on it, pricing, it's changed now, right? During COVID, you could have put a home up for anything and it's going to sell. Shit, it was going to get over asking and multiple offers. But I
Yep.
think pricing strategy matters today more than any other time, right?
I agree. I agree. And it's also not just looking at the last 6 months of sold homes. I believe looking at the market as a whole, because, if you're putting a market right now, let's say on the MLS, and you're going back 6 months, you're getting homes that have closed in June and July or whatever, right? During the summer, during the peak season. But those homes were listed a couple of months before that. I think it's really important to look at what's active. What is the absorption rate in this market? Are there more active listings? Are there more options for buyers overall? And it's not just putting the house on the market based on comps and just letting it sit, but we're also making sure that we have these expectations, we set these expectations with the sellers and let them know that, we're in a different market, and it's not like COVID, because a lot of sellers are still stuck in the COVID years also thinking that they're going to get multiple offers in their first 2 hours on the market. So we have to set those right expectations ahead of time.
For sure. We're not seeing multiple offers as much as we used to, right? And overpricing a property costs sellers time and money really fast. And it's really hard to get back from that, right? Price reductions now, they carry more stigma than they have ever before. So it's definitely more important to have those honest conversations with your clients. And what we've been doing recently is not only looking at the past comparable sales, but also really focus on the pendings and what's active, right? What is the current, competition to that property? More than ever, I think that's becoming more important. And it's from that, negotiations have also come back in a big way. Um, Deals aren't only, chosen by the highest offer alone. And really, it's about the whole package, right?
No, I agree. And it's also like communicating confidence that this deal can close. Like, I had one recently last week where it was one agent that we can tell right from the bat that they just were newer. One of the things that they put was seller to give to pay for buyer's closing. Essentially, they're asking for a concession. They didn't specify how much it is exactly, and of course, there's an addendum for that that has to say exactly how much the concession they're asking for. And when I asked, "What is it that you're looking for?" they were like, "Well, it's negotiable." And I'm like, "Well, we can't have it just open in the contract before we accept the offer." She was like, "Oh yeah, that's what my broker told me to do." And I'm like, "Okay, so we're going into this issue now that this person just shows no confidence in knowing what to do, versus we having another offer where we accepted because and it was $5,000 less, but at the end of the day, it was what the seller felt like that this deal was gonna, actually close. It's not really about the highest price, like you mentioned, Sharif. It's also about the terms. It's also about, communicating confidence that deal will close. Like nobody wants a home to go back on the market after an offer get accepted. So you have to make sure that you know what you're talking about, communicate it properly. Bring in a mentor or somebody to talk to the listing agent with you, and that's how you get offers accepted too.
No, it's totally true, and I think, one of the best people that I've found that actually does this is Francesca, right? She really builds that rapport with the agent on the other side, knowing that's part of the negotiation strategy. We want people to like us, understand that, we'll take this to closing. We're actually, more motivated about it than you are, right? That's
Yeah,
what the perception that we have is we got to give that to the other side and let them know that, basically I'm here, just like you're here. We're going to take this to the closing table. And again, just like you mentioned, Peter, like credits and concessions, they matter again, right? The way that you're negotiating them, that's going to actually impact if your offer is going to get accepted or not. So just looking at the full offers is what sellers are doing. And, where big deals are being won and lost right now is in those conversations. So unfortunately, like that agent could have had a good offer if they just explained it correctly. Right. And that's something else that I want to touch on. It's buyer representation has real value yet again, right? So at a certain point, I mean, my dog could have represented a buyer because it was that easy, right? It was just like, just put the offer and scribble it up and throw it out there. But really, buyer
yeah.
representation is now more important than ever. The strategy they use, it beats the speed of a transaction. Buyers need the education. That's really what it comes down to as well, is you need to be explaining things better now. It's not as, fast of a market right anymore. And we need to really be explaining to our clients what everything means and really express everything, explaining it correctly, clearly, and justifiably.
I agree. I agree. Buyer consultations are really important, and it's something that we see for sure. That one of the biggest difference in building rapport early on, especially with people that never bought a home before, and even if they did, like things have changed. You got to make sure that you understand what this market looks like. Maybe the last home they bought was during COVID, and our job is to obviously match the buyer with the right home that they want to find, but also to protect them the whole way through, letting them know, like, hey, some scenarios we might not have to go over asking, some scenarios will, and we're going to help you with that. We're going to make sure that we look at the market and research it and see how fast homes are selling in this area, communicating with the other side, all these things. And that's why it's important to have a buyer's agent represent you, not go straight to the selling agent or the listing agent. I mean, because the listing agent's job, as you guys should know, is just to get the highest offer for the seller. The buyer's agent's job is more to protect them and also help them get into the right home while making sure that they're not overpaying. But that's the biggest thing, and your buyer consultation done right should go over these things and show the pros and cons of that.
For sure. I mean, I think it's imperative to have it in this market. I think you and your client need to be on the same page. You need to educate them about the process, and things are different. Things are changing, right? So we need to explain to them what are the changes that are happening? What are we seeing differently from last year and years in the past? And what we could be doing differently today to help represent them better. And a part of that is definitely going to be communication. I mean, it's one of the things that, I pride our team on is the communication that we have with our clients. There's so many agents out there that will list a property and just disappear or help a client put an offer in and not provide any value after that. But you got to be clear with your communication, and the clients, if they expect that clarity, not silence from agents. So it's more important now more than ever to respond to them in the right amount of time in order to build that trust with your client. As we all know, these relationships that we build, they're built on trust. So we have to focus on that and be clear with our communication and try to get back to people as quickly as possible.
No, I agree. And it goes the same also with buyers or sellers. A prime example, when we tell our team, especially if they get a lead from Zillow or any of these sources and they request a specific property to see, most agents will wait to reach back out to the client before letting them know that the showing was approved, right? But sometimes that can take, 6 hours, 12 hours a day, 2 days, but then they just wait until they get the approval before reaching out to the client again. And we always emphasize how important it is to just still continue to communicate with them, because when there's silence, there's always confusion, and we want to clarify that. We don't want them to start guessing, hey, is this agent too busy? Do they not have the time to work with me, or do they not like me? Like, constant communication and speed really wins in this market. And humans are trained that way. Like, we're trained to go on Amazon and get our package delivered the same day. And they expect the same from us.
Mhm.
Whether you like it or not, we just have to adapt.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, confusion in reality, you brought it up, and confusion kills deals, it kills relationships, and really proactive updates calm nervous clients. And that's what we want to do. We want to calm the people that we're working with so we can take them through the process. That's why they're hiring you. They're hiring you because you're the expert. You have more experience with buying and selling homes. So you're bringing that knowledge to the table so that they can have peace, right? Doing that when they carry through with a large transaction, and in most cases, it's probably the largest transaction that someone's going to actually, be part of in their lifetime. They need that, calming figure in their corner that's communicating correctly and bringing clarity to the table. So that's really what our jobs are, right? Bringing clarity and calmness to the table, but also local knowledge beats national headlines, right? Like, it doesn't matter to me what the president's doing, is how is it affecting us locally? And that's what we need to actually, provide to our clients and our database, is that media headlines are designated, they're designed to scare people, not educate. So our job should be taking those headlines and providing education out of them so that we can calm, our clients and database as well. Don't you agree, Pete?
So, we always say this on our team, is that they should be getting the news from the agent, especially anybody that's you're following up with. And it's a really good way to touch base with a client versus calling them and say, hey, I'm just calling to follow up. How is your search going? Or whatever the case is. Like, we should be, when we're following up with them, we should, communicate with them some local news, right? Some local updates on the market, some local, well, not local, the interest rates are national, but how the interest rates are doing. But just like you said, Sharif, the inventory and the headlines are usually national. And we know that there are markets, even within New Jersey, that are, already turned into a buyer's market. And some other markets are still a seller's market. So we can assume also all of New Jersey is either a buyer or a seller market, or competitive or not competitive. It's going to depend on the hyper local city, the county. Like, sometimes even, going to a different block in the same city, it was going to drive different traffic altogether. As an example, in Edison, like, North Edison versus, South Edison is a complete different market altogether. And some homes are just fly off the market. It's crazy. Like, so you got to communicate this, and they should be hearing the news from you, and then you should be educating them and correct if anything that is they've heard on the news that's wrong. You should be communicating that properly and correct what that means for them
For
locally.
sure. For sure. Because every market behaves differently, right? And the local expertise that you have is your competitive advantage. So you should broadcast that. You should use that to your advantage. And really, a great way to do that, and you do this like, 10 times better than I do, Peter, for sure. But content itself builds trust before your calls. And you are probably the content king at this point. Like, but, seriously though, content is pretty much pre-selling your expertise, right? Someone can hear about you and hear your name and, they're searching you. That's what we all do. I mean, I, anyone that I'm about to meet, I can actually Google them and I search them on social media, right? And it builds that instant trust, right? You get to know a person quickly. So content is becoming king. I don't care if it's videos. I don't care if it's local expertise. I don't care if it's a post with some, a graphic and just some advice. It doesn't matter. And it's not about the views, right? It's someone's looking at it. You don't have to worry about how many likes you're getting because the views itself don't equal the trust. It's the actual content that you're putting out there and making it available for people.
No, it's so true, and it's something that people, like you said, have looked us up, and it really does help the conversion because most people just search your name before, let's say, you go on a listing appointment. And I've had so many people say, "Hey, we looked up your videos," and they quote some of the things that I say on video. And not just that, like that combined with emails now is just so more powerful. Like I used to sleep on emails, and now, our coach told us that we should start doing emails, and it has been working, right? Like I know both of us had generated a bunch of leads from emails recently, and it's just all it was just asking them if they want to know how to what was it, reassess their taxes or something like
Oh,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the process of reassessing their taxes, and
Yeah.
if they needed help with a market valuation, you were there for them. I mean, we just did one most recently because of the storm today on how to prepare your home,
Oh,
during a
that's great.
storm. You know what I mean? Sent it out yesterday. And, a lot of the ideas too, it's not original to us. It's really things that I've seen in R&D, rip off and duplicate, which can easily be done with AI these days, right? So just providing some type of value to the clients and definitely emails, providing content out there, it builds trust with your clients or even people that you don't know yet, your future clients, right? It keeps you re-engaged with your past clients and your sphere. So you definitely want to build on that because I tell you, transaction count is coming down, right? Every year there's less homes sold. It's crazy. And to grow within that, it's harder. It's harder to replace deals now because there's less overall transactions. So that's when relationships matter the most, right? Relationships actually compound like interest. And the follow up that you have is the business right now. So what you got to do is focus on those relationships, those conversations, because in reality, I say it all the time, 55% of our business is still past clients, sphere, and referrals,
Yeah,
right? And
for sure.
referrals for sure outperform ads. They outperform any ads that we do, especially on the long term. So focusing on that is key right now.
No, I agree so much, especially what you mentioned on as far as there are fewer transactions going into this year, and it's easy for real estate agents, and they used to do this a lot, and some of them still do, post about how many closings they've done and also how much over asking they were able to get their seller during COVID, right? It's easy to win when the market is helping you. But it's not easy to win when the market is going against you, which is in this case, right? Or the market is a little bit tougher. The agents that are really skilled and they're also putting in the work are the ones that are winning and seeing their team's transaction count, or for example, they're leveling up their production in a market that is actually doing less sales or less transactions overall. At that point, if you are one of those, then definitely great work, great job to you, because that means that you're doing more work and you're going in the right direction. And the market overall is cyclical. It has its seasons and it will get easier again. We just don't know when. But then at that point, when that time happens, the ones that are already killing it at a high level now, they're going to see a massive change in their business. Is going to even be better for them. And yes, there will be a lot of people that will go back into the business just to because they take advantage of an easy market. But the ones that are winning at a high level and didn't build bad habits, like they will see a huge return in their investment of time or money overall.
I mean, the key things that really caught my attention right there, Peter, what you're talking about is just focusing on the fact that it's business
Hmm.
and investment, right? Those are
Yeah.
the key terms that you use because most agents don't treat this like a business. And that's something I got more from you than I got from anyone else is trying to look at this like it's a business, removing yourself from it and actually looking at it as a business itself because hustle without numbers is pure chaos. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, you're just doing things haphazardly and not really focusing on the true numbers. And focusing on the numbers themselves is where you find growth because then you can figure out where you can improve and things that you need to take away to get there. Right. So tracking expenses and margins is essential. Right. You should know your cost per deal. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, I only paid $20 for that lead. Yeah, but how many leads did it take for you to close that lead source? The cost per deal, it might be a lot more than you would think in order to get it to
Yes.
the closing table. And you really got to protect profitability. There's so many people I know out there that are crushing it, but are taking nothing home, right? You got to be looking at your numbers on a consistent basis and treat this like a damn business. This isn't just a job for you. You are an independent contractor, regardless if you're a single agent on a team or own a brokerage. You are an independent contractor. You need to track this and make sure that you treat it like a business.
So good, and I agree because it was hard. It is hard, especially when you're building a team to be able to track everything, and and you're still in production, and it's something that everybody should be doing early on. And this is again like talking about failures and mistakes that we've done in the past, including myself, is not doing this early on, right? And not counting your own personal production towards, your team's production. Because essentially, like if you were removed and you're treating it like a business, the business owner production shouldn't really matter because if let's say you're selling this business at some point that you're not going with the business. You're not going to be part of the team. Like you want to be removing yourself from it. And what would somebody pay if you're not there? If your team's production is all you, then at that point, it's going to be very hard, right? But, you know, teams are not something that get sold a lot overall. And definitely I don't think this is our goal anytime soon or even ever. But, more of our goal is to help impact people and then actually really focus on providing value with them, especially to the team members, but also knowing like, okay, what is our time worth, right? Like we're okay, sacrificing or going through things and paying that forward, right? Putting our own transactions into the business to help scale the team. But at some point you got to be like, okay, how can we scale this like a business and make sure that we're bringing in a profit? That's something that I'll tell everybody or even team leaders that are listening to this.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore the numbers, man. If you ignore the
Yeah,
numbers, you're not going to survive.
for sure.
And honestly, this market, it's not really a volume market. It's more of a skill market now. There's not a lot of those transactions that are just going to come to you easily now, right? And the gap between like professional agents and the amateur ones, that gap's widening faster and faster. And I think people are starting to realize this. And, coming from like the beginning of like this podcast, Peter, you talked about 71% of agents haven't closed one deal last year. That is nuts. That's crazy. Imagine if 71% of the doctors out there did not see one patient. Like, that'd be a little scary, right?
It's
So
crazy.
it is crazy. And there's fewer deals, there's higher expectations, and mastery right now is going to be activity. So you need to master it. You really need to understand that your skills will compound over time. So we need to educate ourselves now more than ever, right? And people like come to me and they say like, "Oh, are you still learning?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I haven't like even scratched the tip of the iceberg. I am still learning at a higher level now though."
Yeah.
And that's why I choose to teach. And another thing that just caught my attention in what you just said, Peter, is, it's no longer about transaction count and money. It's about impacting lives. That's that's where we find our true joy now. So I think, the whole thing is you're just going to find what's going to make your needle move. And for us, it's just impacting lives at this.
Yeah, no, it's two things that you just said was really good too, as far as like this is a skills market too now and an activity market because what I see a lot of people do, and they just never get away from the learning phase. They want to continue to listen to podcasts or read books or watch YouTube videos on how to say certain things or practice their script, but they just never take action or not enough action. And they feel like they want to know it all before taking action at all or get started, which it's not going to help you at all if you're not practicing what you do. And it's like you should be like, okay, I learned this and I got to go apply it right away. Like, activity is always going to be the learning curve, and this is the best way to learn. You got to learn by doing. And that's what worked for me also. Like, and sometimes I just learn as I go. Like, and I can't wait until I know everything. I would go crazy. And another thing too is the contribution, and also figuring out what is your main why. That something that's gonna, we both listen to this really good podcast, with Tony Robbins, is something that pulls you towards it, right? Not push you to it. You got to find out what is the bigger why that you are doing this. If it's just about money, there will be a time, and hopefully, you definitely make whatever goal that you want to achieve, but money itself at some point is going to be meaningless, and you will stop when we do achieve a goal. A lot of people come into the team and say, I want to make 100 grand next year. Okay, great. But then they make the 100 grand and then they slow down, right? Because they're not really pulled towards that specific goal. But if it has something bigger than just a money goal, you're gonna find yourself getting pulled, especially when it gets tough, when it gets harder, when it gets challenging with certain deals, or you're not having any closings to the table. You need to find something that wakes you up in the morning and pulls you towards what it is that you need to do, versus just money. I want to make X amount, or I want to be able to buy this car, or I want to be able to buy this house, right? It has to have a bigger impact than that.
Totally. I mean, just a few things that you just got to do in 2026 just to change your mindset and really just adapt to the market today because it's really getting more honest. Just applying it, right? I don't think we actually learn on a higher level. It's just we implement faster and more than most people. And implementation's key. So just remember, it's always good to learn, but you got to implement it. And you said it as clear as day there, Peter. And that's really what you need to do in a changing market. And it's really about really focusing on your client's needs, educating your client, making sure you're there in their corner and building that trust with them. But not only that, really finding why you're doing this, right? It's got to be something bigger because we all get caught up in, the whole mess of it. And you really got to think on a larger picture and figure out why you started this. Like, why did your agent want to make that 100 grand, right? There's got to be an underlining, factor. They want maybe financial freedom or be able to help their parents out or something along the lines that was the real reason. So find that reason in yourselves, and really change what you're doing because if you don't, you're going to be one of the agents get left behind, and you don't want.
Yeah, so good. And all right, guys, if you do like this podcast, please share it with other agents or other team leaders that you think this will help them. Follow our Facebook group, which we'll put the link below, and continue to tune in and share alongside your friends. And we look forward to our next podcast. Have a great one.
Bye, guys.